I'm so grateful. I know, Shay, we've done some Zooms before, but when you said that, I was like, wait, we haven't actually done one for your team. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So I have a really unique story, you guys, and I love to share it because I do honor it as super special. But it also is so great because it doesn't mean that I'm any different from any one of you or have any different opportunity than any one of you. So I'll share it with you. So when I was 12 years old, so for those of you that are moms, think about your kids, okay? When I was 12, my mom discovered the wrap, okay, and started the company. So literally, yes, Shay's like the queen. That's what we call her, the queen. She started networking because she was a stay-at-home mom with me and my brother. I have an older brother who's 3.5 years older than me. She was a stay-at-home mom, and when we got to the age of about 6, I was 6, my brother was 10, I was in dance, softball, my brother was in band, and my dad was like, listen, I really need some help financially. Like, I need some help. I'm working. He was gone. My dad was gone Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday every week traveling for his job. And he didn't retire until about 8 years ago, which is just amazing. But he needed some help on the financial side. And so my mom wanted to find something that she could do to still get us off the bus every day, because she was so hands-on. I mean, I see her with my kids now. I have 2 boys, and I see her with them, and I know how she was with us. And I remember, but I mean, come on, I'm 31 years old now. I see her with them, and it's just so special. And so she wanted to still be so hands-on, get us off the bus, but be able to bring in income and help the family. And so she started with a network marketing company that she was with for 6 years, and they sold long distance phone services, and then cell phones came out. And so there was no longer a need for that company to be in existence. And through that company, she met Mark Pentecost, who is our CEO. And so literally about, I don't know, a couple of days after she shut that business down, she got a phone call about the wraps. And our formulator, Luis Mahares, wanted to bring this product to market. And in the United States, it needed someone to market it. And so my mom took a hold of this, tried the product, and of course got rights to market the product. And she started It Works when I was 12. So I grew up with her in direct sales, listening to everything, hearing everything. And I was always her cheerleader. I was always her biggest cheerleader. I adore her on every level, but never saw myself doing this. You know, at the time I would go travel with her and go to wrap parties, and I loved it because I could collect the money. And so we would fill up a jar, you know, and I'm like 12, 13, 14 years old. And you have to understand something. She was building the field, right? Just as all of us are. She was doing nothing any different than any one of us are. It's not like they came to It Works with like a slew of people and like it was successful overnight. I think it took like 5 or 8 years before they had their first diamond, which just like blows my mind. And I think it was like Melody McFarland or something. I can't remember. She was the first ambassador. Just crazy to think about. And so I would go to parties with her, collect the money. I thought that was really cool. And again, I was always just her cheerleader. But going to the events, being at those events and hearing those stories, I realize now it was all implanting in my mind and on my heart, because I was seeing people walk across stage having paid off debt. Their whole lives were being changed. They were like living their best life, feeling their best, looking their best, having these amazing bodies, having these total transformations. And I'm like, this thing works. Like, this product is amazing. This company is amazing. When I was in college, I was studying to be a fashion buyer. So I have a degree in fashion merchandising. And so when I was in college, I was studying to be a fashion buyer, and the economy crashed. This was 2008, 2009. And so right before I was about to graduate. And I was seeing a lot of my friends, Facebook had just come out, you guys. Can you even imagine? Like, I went through college without Facebook or like any social media. And so I was watching my friends like go home, and they were working 2 or 3 jobs. They were going back to school, going to grad school, thinking if they just went to grad school, then time would go by and maybe the economy would be better. The fashion industry changed. And this is right before everything went social. And we didn't know what was happening, but we were always studying trends and studying the media. And we were seeing a shift, and suddenly I didn't know if I felt secure in the fashion industry. I didn't know if what I had just spent 4 years building was really going to be lucrative to me. And so I had just studied abroad. My parents, because of It Works, were able to allow my brother and myself to go to college without any debt, which was so amazing. And so we were in college at the same time at the same school. And I went to Italy, and my parents were able to pay that for me for an entire semester. And while I was there, I'm like realizing this is great and all, but my parents are literally providing me with everything. And I didn't have a savings account. I didn't have like anything with my own name on it. And I'm looking at my friends graduating college thinking, what am I going to do? And so when my mom was visiting me, we were on a train ride from Rome to Sorrento, and we were talking about It Works. And I just, for the first time in my entire life, I actually asked her, do you really think that I would be good at this? Because she had always told me that. I had grown up with this. Of course, she was always like trying to like poke at me and get in my ear, but I had to like allow it to be my own time and have my own need. And so I asked her, and she like jaw to the floor, was freaked out, was like, oh my God, you're going to be so amazing. And of course, she was like, you know, dreams are coming true. So she got out a napkin, and on the train, she wrote out the steps to success. And she literally like trained me as if any one of us would train you getting started, right? She told me the steps to getting started. She told me what to do. And again, this is before social media. So everything we did was belly to belly in person. And so she told me that I needed to get back to Richmond, Virginia, where I was living 3 hours away from them. And I was entering my senior year of college. Then I needed to have a wrap party. And this is funny that I'm sharing this story with you right now, because I literally just saw on Facebook that the girl that hosted my first party for me is now pregnant. And I was like, oh man, this brings back so many memories. We were in college together, and my friend Jennifer was super social. Like, this is the girl that when she went out on a Friday night, she had an entourage, she had all the people, she was in a sorority, she was super connected. I wasn't. It literally, in college, I was so boring. I had my boyfriend at the time, and I had like Jennifer, who was my friend, who like made me be social. I was just like very studious and just kind of kept to myself. And that was my personality back then. It's not so much my personality now, but that's how it was when I was in college. And so I asked her to host a party for me, and she did, in her apartment in the middle of January. It was snowing on a Saturday, and I couldn't believe it that people came. And this was the turning point for me. She had 6 girls show up at her apartment that day. And I was 3 weeks back from my trip. I didn't wait to launch. I had been back in the country for 3 weeks. I didn't even have an apartment yet, because everything was changing for me for that year. And she hosted a party for me in her apartment. And those 6 girls came, and let me tell you what, every single one of them wrapped. They all had lined up with their wraps on, had me taking pictures. They all sampled product. I was nervous as all get out. I know I was beet red. I was like sweating. I was like foamy of the mouth. I had many parties that I had been to. I was doing this alone. I even asked my friend Nancy to come help me, this girl that I worked with in retail. I was like, can you come help me? I think you'd be great at this. Maybe you could just be there for moral support. She came. Of course, she ended up signing up and becoming a presidential diamond on my team. Okay. Like, powerful stuff. Okay. So I hosted that party that day. And the thing that really blew me away is these girls all became my loyal customers. That day, signed on the dotted line, became my customer. And not once did these girls ever step foot in my store. They never showed up in my store, because I sold high-end clothing, and that was the last thing that they needed. They didn't have any desire to buy this high-end retail clothing. They wanted my wraps. They wanted my defining gel. They wanted my Confiance. They wanted my greens. They wanted my Fat Fighter. That's like pretty much all we had back then. We didn't have all the stuff that we have today, but they wanted my product. And that's when I got excited. I got excited for 2 reasons. I got excited because I did it on my own. My mom wasn't there to like hold my hand and walk me through it. She couldn't zoom in, like we had Skype back then, but she didn't even show up for it, right? I did it on my own. And then I saw excitement in these girls, and they actually joined me. And so from that point on, it's like I had this fire in my belly. I was so excited. I love making money. I'm like, I'm making money. This is so great. And my first goal is $500 because that's about what I could make part-time working in retail, like working really hard, which was just bad. And so I was able to work this business, you know, and in my spare time, you know, and I wasn't studying like all hours of the day for my classes, right? I know, Shay, you can totally relate to this. But you guys, here's the thing. In 1 year, I was a double diamond my first year, but I was making $10,000 a month by the time I graduated. And I was a double diamond doing that. And I'm like, holy moly, nobody's hiring that will ever pay me this much, that can give me the freedom that I just had, that I did this part-time in 1 year. And so from that point on, I went full-time with It Works and never looked back. So that was like 2009. So 2012, I promoted ambassador. And then 2014, I literally earned my first $1 million. And I was not even 30 yet, you know, and of course have been since earned multiple millions. But the big thing for me was I did it part-time to start. I did it in my side hours. I did it with a vision. I did it with, I can do this. I did it because I saw independence, and I saw that, you know what, I can live my best life, the life that my parents have created for us, by doing this. And I just never looked back. So here I am 10 years later. I have 2 kids. They're kind of like behind me in those pictures. Miles is 14 months and Kennedy's 3.5. And it's totally changed our life. So we're literally living in Sarasota, Florida now. And I was telling Shay earlier, we were going to renovate our house. And by the time we like got the quote to renovate our house, we've been in this house for 4 years. It's an amazing house. It's our first house together. But by the time we got the quote, we were like, gosh, I feel like we're just like kind of buying new. And then we started looking, and literally found like the perfect house for us to build. And just on Friday, signed the dotted line on the documents, and we're building a house in an amazing community in Lakewood Ranch. And I don't know, I can't even believe it, because we went from living in a loft apartment together, 1-bedroom loft apartment, to moving to Sarasota because we can, living in this house. We've been here 4 years. We've raised 2 babies here, and we want more kids. And then now we're getting ready to build a house just like exactly how we want. And I think about starting for $500 and being in that first little apartment in January of 2009 and being so nervous, and then to where we've come in 10 years is just, it's a remarkable feeling. And so, you know, I think just think about where you're at now and stretch yourself. If I could give you any advice, it would be just stretch yourself for what you want. You know, something that I see that Shay does so well is she's always vision casting, and she's always even doing it just personally for herself. I mean, she's not afraid to put a dream out there and go after and get it. And I know you know that because you're on her team. But for me, I even see that and I'm inspired by it, because it takes guts to like dream big, and it takes guts to put yourself out there. But once you do, something kind of stirs inside of you, and it's like it starts to move towards your goal. And as long as you're willing to move your feet and your fingers on your cell phone and like put a couple hours into your business every day, you can move mountains. And that's what I've really learned over these last 10 years, is that you can have a big vision, but you got to be able to put the work behind it. And Shay knows it all comes true. So pretty cool story.
I love your story. And I feel like there's so many, if I cut out, I got wax service, but I won't like fall off. But I love that, you know, you started this when there wasn't social media, really. And you started this when, you know, everything was pretty much built face to face. And you also didn't have keto coffee. You didn't have chocolate greens. You didn't have any of these cool products that we have. So it's like, guys, look at the moment that you're in. We are freaking spoiled.
Literally spoiled, you guys have no idea. Our catalogs were misspelled. Our websites were awful. I mean, they were so bad. But we still did it, because you know what? At the end of the day, we just put the product on people. We literally just put the product on people. Every Thursday night, I would set up a little table at Gold's Gym in my hometown, or my school town, because it was a mile away from my apartment. And I would set up a little table, and I would pass out Blitz cards, which looked totally different back then. Blitz cards, I'd pass out samples, I'd pull people in, I'd sign up customers, And by the consistency of that, people would ask me to come, hey, can you come set up in my salon? You would be so perfect. Your product would be perfect for me. Hey, can you come do this? Can you come into my boutique? Hey, can we meet for coffee? And I started to build my network outside of my existing network by just getting out there and being in person. And we have social media is brilliant, especially with host to post and the ability to like reach a mass amount of people in a short period of time. But a lot of my team, even that are on with me right now, that have been with me for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, wouldn't say anything differently. Because I built to ambassador in the homes, doing parties, being belly to belly, face to face, getting the wrap on people. And that was just as powerful and amazing. And I'm still doing that today. See, that's one thing I have not stopped doing, is building locally in the homes, because people love to see, smell, taste, experience, all of it, this product. It's also very hands-on, but you can do it just as much on social media. You just find your passion and find your gift. And one of mine just happens to be in person. You know, I just love the way that is for me in my business. So I still teach it and I still do it today. But really behind it all is just your passion. It's how you show up representing the product every day. You are your brand. So it's how you show up. It's how you're representing it. It's how you're showing it on social, how you're wearing it out there in the world. It's how you're connecting with people. It's making the decision to put yourself out there in a different, more profound way that people are literally divinely attracted to you. Do they want to know what you have? That's what it comes down to.
Yes, and that's so good, because the biggest part of this Zoom, guys, that I really wanted to talk about that we're really focusing on is just dreaming and vision casting and seeing, where this business can take you in such a short amount of time. And we always talk about it. When I joined, I didn't have this vision. I was just talking about it in the car with my dad today. I joined for gas money, and I thought my whole life was planned out just like Kay did. She thought she was going to be this amazing fashion industry person, and now she's an amazing rap girl person. So the biggest thing that, that too, it just shows just to being patient, with God's plan that he has for you. When you join this, like she joined just like, okay, this is going to make me some money. And then now look at her. Her life's completely different because of this. So the first question I have for you is, what do you feel like kind of kept you going when your direction changed, or when things changed in your life, or, you kind of made those connections where you're like, okay, like this is what I'm going to do, and like things happen. What kept you going throughout those times?
Oh, I would say re-envisioning there's been so many times in my career with this business that I've had to reimagine my life, because things happen. I've had really close friends and family members pass away. That just rocks you to the core. I've had a divorce through this business. I've gone through a divorce through this, which was a big, a heartache in my life, but ultimately brought my husband and my children to me. And so I've gone through hard times. And there were days that I didn't want to get out of bed. There were days that my pillow and my blankets were my best friends, and I had a rough time. But at the end of the day, I already had created such momentum in my team, and this business was like the place that I could fall back on, because the people within our community are so special and amazing that I had this community to fall on when I was feeling so down. And there were times like that. But at the same time, just because life does change, having a baby was just a miracle and a blessing. But then I had to reimagine my life now with the responsibility of being a mother, and how I knew I wanted to raise my children and what kind of life I wanted to give them. Yes, I joined for $500. It changes so much when you have your family involved. And those kids that I look at every day, I didn't want to miss anything. And I wanted to be able to provide an amazing life for them. So I feel like, Shay, I've just allowed, when you kind of surrender and you don't resist what's happening into your life, you realize everything's happening for you. That when I started to just learn surrender, and that this is happening for me, that I allowed that moment of my life to allow me to cast a new vision for what I wanted. And I just kind of got in this flow, because how can you expect 10 years to go by and nothing happened. Nothing bad, nothing amazing, like nothing. Like even the amazing stuff is going to allow me to cast a new vision, right? So you take the opportunities that happen in your life, because they are opportunities. You take those moments and you cast a new vision. And that's what I've done over the last 10 years. I'm going to keep doing it over the next 10 years, because I can't imagine, I don't know, you don't know what's going to happen in your life 5, 10, 15 years from now. But I can assure you, like learning all these lessons over the last 10, I'm going to take that and I'm going to carry it into the future. And I would say the same thing in my family. You know, looking at my mom and how she's built this company with Mark over almost the last 20 years, a lot has happened in their life. A lot has happened. But one thing that we do is we move through it. We don't make anybody feel sorry for us over it. We move through it. And I feel like any strong entrepreneur is going to do that very same thing. And so again, it's casting a new vision. So what does that look like? What does that look like? For me, it was, taking the opportunity to realize that maybe when my best friend's daughter passed away, I didn't have to go back to work. I was able to go live with her for weeks on end to help her get her life back together. It was heartache. It was really hard to go through at the time, but because of It Works, I was allowed to be with her, where nobody else in our community could spend that kind of time with her during that, horrific time in her life. But I was able to sleep in her house, hold her hand, walk her through it, be there for her. And so again, heartache allowed me to see, okay, but because of It Works, I'm allowed to be here. I don't have to answer to anybody. I could get on a plane like that and I can be with her through those times. So because It Works has been such a blessing in so many other ways other than the financial. So if you're going through a valley right now, ask yourself, what can I take from this and appreciate about this moment and what this is teaching me in my life, and how can I use this to cast a new vision for what I want for my future, and how can It Works be a big part of that? Because that's how you develop strength. And then guess what? Your business is stronger because of it. I can tell you my business is so much stronger today because I take that on, and I just don't allow myself to get rocked too hard. Does that make sense? I'm like watching your faces, and a lot of you are just like, yes, that does make a lot of sense. You're nodding, and I appreciate that. So just think about that. I think that's the best answer I could give you is just cast a new vision as it comes. It's going to happen.
I love how much wisdom you have, because so many people on my team are obviously young. You know, I'm 20 and I've not gone through very many life situations that have caused me to have to really reevaluate. But, you know, I was talking to my friend today about it, just how sometimes you can get to a point in your life that you never thought you'd be at, and you have to redream in a good way. And then you have things that happen. Like I tell everyone on our team, every 6 months something happens, and it tells you, okay, this is why I joined right now. Because we can control our business, but we can't control what happens to us in our life. And so that's where this comes in and that's a big thing on our team right now, is so many of us are young and we don't know really, you know, what we want out of life. And I'm like in such an awkward period in my life because I'm, you know, kind of fast forwarded to a point where I was supposed to be later on in life. And so that's always been like a big issue with me of just saying, what more could I need? I'm 20, you know, I'm at presidential, I've got all these things. So it's constantly just, you know, reevaluating things, but you also go through things in your life that are not good, where you're like, okay, this is why I have it as well. So I love that you said that. How do you feel like you keep your team going, and you as that leader come into your team if something's happening, you know, good or bad, and, you know, they're maybe not maintaining how they're supposed to, or their promotion's not coming together as much as it should? How do you kind of go to them and say, okay, like this is the course of action we're going to take. I'm going to help you through this. Like, what do you do with that?
Yeah. I think, you know, there was a point in my business where I didn't feel like my leadership was that strong. I felt like I needed to step up as leader, and I felt like I needed to show up as leader. And so I really looked at my team and said, okay, you know, we've gone through a lot of growth. There's been a lot of things that have happened, and I'm going to step in here. And this was last spring. This was a year ago. Because I was ready. I literally looked at my life and said, okay, I want the next level. I'm ready for the next level. And so I just started showing up for my team in a different way than I ever had before. Going live more on our team page, starting on with new team chats, with feeling like, you know what, I am a leader. I am of value. And that's the thing that I want you guys to realize. What I learned that process is, as I thought, oh, but our leadership is so strong. They look to so-and-so and this person, and oh, I'm good, and I kind of took a back seat. And then when I started showing up more as my business coach, she actually advised me to just go live every week on Wednesday and to talk about a different topic. And I called it Wisdom Wednesday. And what maybe my team doesn't realize I did that for was just for me to see if they even cared. And I know that sounds silly, but once I started going live in my team page, I realized, oh my gosh, they love this. They do see the value in my wisdom. They do still want me around. And it was like this major shift that I had. And then I started showing up more, even in my personal, professional life, right? I started showing up more and how I talk to people about the product and how I showed up on social media. And so no matter the size of your team, whether you are an executive, a Ruby, an Emerald, a Diamond, no matter what your rank, all the way up to ambassador, you do matter. And your team does deeply care about what you have to say. Any tip you have, and this is what I tell my leaders, stop holding back from the tips that you have that are working for you. Because I feel like that's kind of a reflection of how I felt, was like, is this invaluable information? Is this information going to mean something to them? And when I realized it did, they started showing up more. They started sharing their tips, and our leadership exploded. So when we had our leadership team leadership retreat last year, when I went from the number that we had last year into the projected number that we'll have this year, even with like confirmation of people that will be there so far, it's doubled. It's doubled in size from last year, from me showing up, just deciding to show up as leader, from the retreat we had to the one that's coming up. It's doubled in size already. That's even before we have this whole summer run that's coming. And that's what I want, because I want the success of the team. You have to want the success of your team so much that it like drives you so much more. Because it's one thing to want it for yourself, but when you see that person's life literally change, I'm thinking about Amber Henry right now. Amber, I know you're on, who went from Ruby to Diamond and then double Diamond and like quadrupled her check and is just in tears because she's a mom of 4. She works a full-time job, and it's like her whole life has changed because of this business. That literally drives me every day. I'm like, how many more Amber Henrys are out there that can use this product, right? That can use this business opportunity, that this life can literally change. And it just gets like boiled in me more than it does for me building this house. Like that's what has to happen. The house is a great thing, but I could live here and still be as excited about my business because of the lives that are changing. So when that starts to shift in you, something big happens. So for me, it's like, you got to rally your team. You've got to tell your team. One thing that I see that Shay does so beautifully is you've got to tell your team where you're going. And you've got to get them under your wing, and you got to go together. Because when I went Ambassador Diamond, I had an army with me. We were a pack. We had this thing locked in before it was done. And we worked on it for 4 solid months. We did not look back. We were all in. And then boom, there it was. And it was massive. And so I think about that passion and power that stirs when everyone's on the same page. So I don't care if you're going Emerald, you need to tell your team, we're going Emerald. Like, we're going Emerald this month. Do you know that on the final, it was Thanksgiving, that I was visiting my mom in Sarasota. This was before I lived in Sarasota. And I had 2 days left in the month by the time I got back. And I looked at my team and I said, we're getting it done in 2 days. I couldn't even believe the number of diamonds that we built, y'all, in 2 days. Built. It was insane. You can do anything as long as you decide first. It's in the decision. Once you decide, it's all there for you. So I think you have to literally tell your team, and you guys have to move together, and you have to cheer each other on all along the way. It's getting on Zooms together, getting on power hours together. It's just being in each other's space and presence and cheering each other on, like down to the wire. When Amber was going double diamond, it was like the chat for her team was so powerful because they're all in there and they're counting down volume. And they're still making sure that everybody's got what they need. Even when Amber was already double, she still made sure that everyone else had what they needed, right? That's a powerful leader. That is a special leader. And that's how you want to be. So I feel like there's a lot there, but a lot of it is just being with each other through the process and really telling your team what you want. They don't know unless you tell them. They cannot read your mind. And that's how that you teach them, right? You teach them through your ways. So they're going to do what you do. So if you're teaching them from the start, they're going to layer that down and they're all going to be doing the same thing. And that's what's going to explode your team. That's what's going to build mega diamonds. Lots of leadership.
That is so good, because I feel like I love that it's kind of flowing into the next question of, sometimes it's really hard to find that vision in yourself. Sometimes it's really hard because you're kind of in that point where you're like, okay, well, like I have everything that I need right now. Like I don't feel like I need anything else. I bought that car or I paid off that debt or whatever it is. Sometimes you have to find that vision in your team, guys. Like there are people that not are where you are yet. Like there's so many people that join you and you're like, oh yeah, she is the next me. Like this is great. Use her to reinstill where you want to go. And so that's kind of where I was saying of what, after seeing, you get to this point and you're like, okay, well, this is exactly what I wanted. Like I am where I am. How do you kind of keep going to recast that vision to get, like, I know we always say just revision, recast that vision. How do you get to that point? Do you find that vision in your team? Are you like, okay, you're going ambassador, like, let's get you to ambassador. And then you kind of say, oh, well, I want this now. I hope this person goes to the next level. Now I want this. How do you kind of get through when you feel like you've kind of capped out? How do you get to that next level yourself?
Yeah. I think you're going to find through what you just said is exactly what I do. You're going to find through asking, okay, who on your team can you really love on? Who on your team can you sit down, whether it's through Zoom or face-to-face, and say, listen, are you ready to go presidential or what? No, we've been talking about it for a couple years, or we've been talking about it for a couple months. Are you ready to do this thing or what? There is so much magic in partnering together and running together for their promotion. And through that, you get because you got to do the work too. So you're showing up on social, you're showing up in person, you're showing up with your leadership. And then before you know it, you've got, again, this fire in your belly. And then all of a sudden you've got, magic happening in this person's life. That means you're also enrolling. So you're getting fast start bonuses. And if you're a leader, you're getting those leadership bonuses on top of that. So there's a lot that's going to happen for you and for them through the process. So, I don't know. It's like, I don't really ever really believe that you're ever really satisfied. Like I have a hard time with this because in our family, I feel like we're always casting a new vision. And my mom and I talk about this a lot. Like, does she need more money? No. But could she change more lives by having more money? They just built a school in Africa. Like, are you kidding me? Like, bring it on. So when she started It Works, do you think that she had the vision of building a school in Africa? She really didn't. But through It Works, it's brought her so much joy and gives back experiences that now she does have a passion for that. So you're going to, again, learn through this process. You're going to be exposed to so much more that's going to allow you to start building that up. So for us, it's like, even this house, I think about how many sip and samples can I host in this house now? How many people could I spoil through my leadership at this house or at the pool? Or, what could I do to help them raise the bar? It's like you start to create a new vision through the process, But you've got to ask your team what they want, and you've got to decide that you're going to lock arms with them and move with them. And a lot of that's just knowing what they want and what their biggest dreams are. And I feel very close and connected to my leadership. So I feel like I know what those things are. You know, as long as they'll tell me, as long as they'll get in my space and tell me, I feel deeply connected. And so when you do lock arms and in a way of even just support with them, you start moving. It starts moving you, because I see that with my mom. The reason why she loves to be in the field is because she connects to your stories. She hears your stories. And for her, she's like, okay, then I'm going to go record 20 more podcasts, because I know that that's impacting you all. It's making a difference in your life, financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's impacting you in all ways. And so that's what happens. So you've got to be connected to your team. If you're isolating yourself, then you're never going to feel that. So you've got to know where they're at, and you've got to know what their desires are. And that's sometimes just for me as a leader, I just get vulnerable. I just get vulnerable. I'm open. I'm like, how can I do better? How can I show up more? What can I do for you? You know, I've learned that I can't just be the know-it-all. I'm not the queen, right? They need to tell me what they need, and they need to tell me how I can show up better. And sometimes it's just having that alone has just been that. My team knows I'm very open about that. You know, constructive criticism I love. So how can you get in your team's space and serve them more? Because that's going to move you. So if you're not doing that, then that might be the thing you need to do now.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I saw a question in the chat earlier saying, you know, how do you get your team motivated and how do you keep them enrolling? And I think you just answered it. You know, you've got to figure out what you're not doing, because if they're not working, you know, sometimes it's hard to point the finger back at yourself, but sometimes it is you. You know, you're the captain of your ship, like Ashley Mayfield says, and I love that, because you are. You lead your tribe, and if they're not showing up in ways that you know they can, you've got to give them something that's going to make them show up. And yes, you can't motivate people, and sometimes they're not going to. And I love this thing too. Nicole Hassinger said it on a Zoom that we did a few days ago, and she said, guys, there's 54 cards in a deck, and there's only 4 aces. So it doesn't matter how many you could have. I mean, there's 57 people on this Zoom right now. You know how many people we have on our team? Way more than that, but there's 57 people that are willing to show up, and literally it takes 4 people to take you to ambassador. So just don't focus so much on, you know, getting people to work with you. Just focus on those ones. Who can I pour into? Who can I vision cast for? Who is going to motivate me? Who's going to take me to the next level so I can show them how to get to the next level? And another thing too is, I feel like you're going to agree with me, and I want you to kind of talk on this, is you've got to have goals, but you have to have present goals, you have to have soon goals, and you have to have goals for the long term. Because there's so many of you on here like, okay, I'm going to make a dream board, and you put on here like huge mansion and buying my family this. Those are great. Like, that's awesome to have you motivated, but that's not motivating you right now. And so many of you are like, well, I'm dreaming so big, but some of you are dreaming too big. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, so I have a task for all of you. You ready for this one? Like, seriously, if you don't do this, you're missing out. Like, this is like so great. So I want you to, you can do it right now, do it tonight. I want you to take your journal or however you keep all your notes. But I want you to write it down. I don't want you to like do it on your notes on your computer. Okay. I want you to actually, there's something about hand to paper. And I want you to write your goals, like your bucket list stuff, like the stuff that you really want. I don't care if you buy a Range Rover. Okay. Whatever it is to you, like write your goals out. Okay. To promote to diamond, earn $10,000 in income per month, put a down payment on a house, pay off $50,000 in debt, like whatever, just write them all down. Don't worry about timeline. Don't worry about don't worry about the win. I just want you to put your biggest, wildest, most amazing dreams on paper and just make a list. However long the list is, make the list, okay? And no one's going to read it. Like, I don't care what it is. Just go all out, okay? And then what I want you to do is go back to each individual item, each one, and I want you to date them. You've got to put dates on them. So if it's buy the Range Rover, when? When are you going to buy it? If it's $10,000 in income, when? If it's promote to diamond, when? Is your heart racing now? You're like, uh-oh. Because you cannot just have a dream board without putting a date on these things. Because then perspective, right? So put the date on there, and then, okay, the last thing that I want you to do is I want you to write a letter to yourself 1 year from now. So do all of those things first, and then I want you to write a letter to yourself. It's May 26, 2020. And you've accomplished everything on that list that's between now and a year from now. How do you feel? What car are you driving? How much income are you making? What rank are you at in It Works? What's your lifestyle like? And I want you to deeply congratulate yourself. Deeply congratulate it. Okay, it's just a big thing. And then I want you to seal it, and I want you to put it away. I literally, and no joking, have it right here. This is mine, open May 16th, 2020. I just wrote mine. So I'm not BSing you. I literally did this. This isn't like I'm doing what you're doing. I had the same task at my leadership retreat, my mastermind retreat in Boston last weekend. And I started writing out all my goals. I'm like, man, I'm dreaming big. And then my business coach was like, date them. And I was like, ooh. But then when I started dating them, I was like, man, no, let me tell you what. As soon as I got home, stuff started happening. And then now we have this land, and everything started moving fast for us. My son's coming in here. Hi, baby.
Hi.
You got cool.
Hey, bud.
Hey, guys. This is
Future rap boy.
Future rap boy. Say hi to everybody. Hi. So that's what I want you to do tonight. I want you to write it out. Please don't go to bed without doing this. Seriously, it's going to change everything for you. Date it.
Oh, no, I do.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, so these are all just flowing together. I feel like this was just like all meant to be. So, you know, there's moments in your business where things aren't so exciting. You know, like I remember, you know, when I lost rank from diamond, getting diamond back didn't excite me because I'd already been there. You know, like your mind is already here. This is where you promoted, and you're like, oh, well, I've already been there, so like I don't want to go there again. So what is kind of your insight on people that are not in their business where they want it to be, or, you know, they got to where they wanted to be and they got knocked back down? What did you do to kind of keep yourself going through those moments? And what would you say to those people now? Because 25th was yesterday. We have people that, you know, are kind of feeling defeated, kind of feeling like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, I'm not really excited to get this promotion back, but I need the money kind of thing.
Okay, so this happened to me.
Mama.
Yes.
No.
Okay, I need you to go get daddy. Okay? I need you to go. I love you with all my heart, but I need you to go get dad. Go tell daddy you're ready for bed. He's pretending like his leg hurts. So he gets like a leg massage. It's so funny. I like put oils all over his leg one night. Now he thinks that he gets a leg massage before bed. I'm like, oh no, what did I do? He's so cute.
It's like when you put them to bed and they're like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, but I don't want this, I want that.
It literally happened the other night. He came out and he wanted greens. Mom, I want greens. And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at night. So he chugged a whole bottle of greens and he went to bed. Okay, so this has happened to me. And it was probably the most humbling experience that I've been through in my entire career, losing rank, because I had to really reevaluate my entire business and look at it like head on. And I had to get to work. Like literally, I will not even kid you guys. I was like, what am I doing every day? What am I doing every day to put magic in my business? I'm not showing up like I want my team to show up. So of course they're not showing up. And so I had to get myself moving. And it has been the most transformational experience for me. The income is stronger than it even was before because I just got serious. And so let's say you get to your rank and you're like, but I want more. Then you set the goal for when you're going to accomplish that and you're going to go get it. That's literally the easiest way. You've got to appreciate where you're at. Let's say you're diamond, you want to go double. Love on diamond. Diamond is magic. It's amazing. Love it. Be grateful for it. Continue to enroll. Continue to set big goals for yourself. Go get double diamond. Like, just go get it. Make the decision that you're going to go double diamond. You're going to go double diamond, right? Because then mountains move for you. So you've fallen back. Okay, people aren't sitting at their dinner table talking about you, that you've fallen back. They're not poking fingers at you. They're not pointing. They're not laughing. Just know that. You feel like you've done something wrong. Listen, business happens. Business is business. Do you think there haven't been times that Mom and Mark haven't had huddles and gone like, okay, we got to reevaluate. We got to up level. We got to do things differently. We got to shake things up. We got to move. We got to start moving in a different direction. Everything's changing. Of course they've done that. Of course they have. We shouldn't be any different. What do you need to do differently now? Right? So let's say you've fallen back and you are diamond and you're paid as ruby right now. So get moving. What did you do to get to emerald and diamond in the first place? You enrolled. Now we have host to post. Maybe I didn't have that when I started. That's been the biggest game changer for me. Set a goal that you're going to be diamond by the end of June and get to work. It's going to take movement from you. It just doesn't happen. Your team's not going to get you there. You're going to get you there. But then guess what? You start doing the things that you need to do to bring on customers and distributors, and then someone shows up. It's like magic. Someone shows up and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm excited again. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I feel like I want to move. I want to work my business. And it just seems like, I don't know, I just woke up because you started moving. That's what happens. Shay's laughing because it's true. It's like things start. So that's what happened to me. It's just like all of a sudden it seemed like people came out of nowhere. And it was just so beautiful because I started showing up in my business every single day in a way that I had never shown up before, with more passion, with more enthusiasm, with more excitement. I started sharing success stories of people who were doing it in this business so I could borrow some of their energy for the meantime. I just started getting in the groove of whatever I needed to do and paying attention to what people were doing in the business that were successful. And the biggest game changer for me was host to post, like literally, because I was such a belly to belly person. I was such a face to face person. But guys, I had to look at my chart and I had to pull it out. So if you're diamond paid as ruby, you need to pull out your diamond chart now. You're going diamond. And you need to map it out. You need to put those 3 legs in there. And you need to make the decision that you're going diamond. And you need to start filling in that chart. You're not going to build that chart outside of that chart. You're going to build that chart within that chart. And likely what happens, and I tell my team this all the time, when this has happened in their business, then you'll probably get there on volume first anyway. Like things will start moving because the volume will come, and you'll probably get back to diamond just on volume anyway, even before all the placement, because a lot of times that's the case. But regardless, you've just got to start enrolling again. So start doing the things that people are doing that are successful in the business. So start getting those host to posts out there. But you've got to go above and beyond. You can't just sit there and expect it to happen for you. And then again, that's going to start moving. So I think for me, it's like you've got to commit to that chart. And every single person on my team that's lost rank, that have re-ranked, and are now at a leadership level would not tell you anything differently. Some of them are on this Zoom right now. Like, yep, she's right. Now I'm double diamond, and I love this. I've got Shauna. I don't know if Shauna's on here. I think I saw her on here. Shauna just promoted double diamond, and Shauna was diamond for 5 years. And Shauna made the decision that she was going to go double diamond. And here she is, double diamond and killing it, and just decided, I'm going double. And all the people fell into place. The volume is there, and she did it, and she got that $15,000 bonus, and it's totally changed her business. Yep, 5 years. There she is. So making the decision is what matters so much. And she finally stopped calling me. And Shauna, it's okay if I know it's okay if I say this. She would go, okay, I only need like $2,000 in volume to get back to diamond this month. I'll be paid as diamond. And I'm like, when are you going to go double? And so when she decided to go double, she's like, wow, it's like so weird to me that I focused on that for so long, on just making sure I was maintaining diamond. And then when she started moving towards double, everything in her business started shifting. And then boom, she had all the leadership was there. People showed up that like literally out of the blue for her, because she finally, this is the key, she finally matched their energy. They were always there. Those people are out there waiting for you to show up. And once you do, you're a match. So my mom always said, like, they fall off because they're not a match to who you are, right? They fall off because they're not a match to who you are. And then as you're leveling up and up leveling in your life, the ones that are a match, you'll meet, and then boom, they're your strongest leaders. They're your visionaries. They're the best on your team. It's just like showed up like magic, but really you're doing the work. I think that's key. She's in here. I didn't see the vision till leadership retreat.
I literally just like sat here and nodded my head so hard for like 5 minutes, because I've always struggled with, okay, well, like, I went through this, and I think that's the biggest thing. I literally tell my team this all the time, because I went through it for a long time. I was that diamond that could not go double to save her life. And, it's just a matter of deciding. And I say that all the time. I was like, is this too simple? Like, I don't even know how to word this. People ask me all the time, how did you get to where you wanted to go? And I'm like, I just did it. Like, I just decided I was going to do it, and I just started moving. And it just like she said, things just fell into place. Things that I had been begging to fall into place, that I was like, I want diamond, I want diamond, I want diamond. I was pushing for double, and it was like, here's this person, here was this person, here's this volume, here's all this. And I was like, what is happening? And it's just because I decided.
And so what were like your top 3 action steps that you took on that promotion to go double? How did you show up differently in the business than you did before?
Well, the biggest thing was when I wasn't maintaining, I stopped doing Zooms because people wouldn't show up. But I ignored and looked over the fact that there were like a few people that did. And I was just saying, well, not everyone's showing up, just 2 or 3 people, so I'm not going to waste my time. And I stopped showing up for everyone when people stopped showing up for me. And I literally said this on our leaders room the other day, you can't put your success and your faith and your like promotions in the hands of other people who don't have the same vision as you. I wanted double, but that's a big thing to show of like, I mean, Shauna wanting a double for 5 years, she may have wanted it, but it wasn't her time. And then she went double because it was her time, because it clicked up here. So no matter how bad you want something, there's things in your life that don't add up. Maybe God knows you're not the leader right now that you should be, and he's teaching you patience, and he's teaching you how to grow, and he's teaching, like, you're going to go through things. Like, there's literally, if I could go back and like maintain diamond, I wouldn't have, because it taught me so much about my leadership, about who I am, about how to handle certain situations. Like, I was a child. I was 18. I couldn't handle a double diamond team because I had to grow. So that's literally so much of everything. So if you are like not maintaining, not at the rank you want to be, she was patient. And God will bless your patience if you sit there and take the tools and grow and grow and grow and become what you're supposed to be in order to rank advance.
100%. Become what you're supposed to be. It's exactly matching that energy. It's spot on. That's so good.
And because, like we always say, those people that aren't working now that you're like, please work. Like, oh my gosh, if you just worked, it's the same thing. Those people, like, for example, I have a triple diamond on my team now that quit for so long. I called her at conference, was like, hey, like, do you want to go emerald? And I had grown so much in my leadership from the time she quit to the time she came back that I was able to lead her out of the spot that she was in because I had been there. So it's also a learning experience for the future, because now when people don't maintain, or now when people are in the same boat as me, I relate. If I wouldn't have gone through that, I'd be like, oh, well, get over it. Like, you can do it, because I'd have no idea. So.
And I think that's procrastination. When we hold on to people on our team, like If only they would do this, or if only they would do that. That's our procrastination for us not doing it ourselves. Like that's our excuse for us not showing
Wow.
up. And when you were just talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to say this because it just hit me. Like that's what it is. So if you would start moving, if you would just start doing the thing that you're fearing or procrastinating or stressing over, that's all just an excuse. Then again, that's when it starts moving for you.
That is so good. I've never heard that before. That's awesome. So what do you think is one of the biggest reasons like people give up on their business, they quit, and what would you tell them, or the people that are going to do what you're saying that they're going to do?
Oh, again, I think it's fear. Anybody that's successful doesn't give up. Ultimately, anybody at the end of the road that's successful never gave up. Probably wanted to, probably had fear, stress, anxiety, all the things at certain points in their career. But at the end of the day, like those people never gave up. And so if you just don't allow yourself to go there, you won't either. And as a mom, I'm like, the last thing I'm going to tell my kids is just give up. You know, I'm going to tell them to get moving. You can do it. You know, so I think the reason that people give up is because they don't allow themselves to do the work to build up their self personally, which is like 90% of this anyway. You know, it's just like you said, Shay, you didn't go double because you weren't ready emotionally for it. So you guys know that you can like literally collapse time. You can shrink that amount of time that you work through the personal growth aspect of it, if you just make the decision to do that work. So it's like my husband, I experienced this with him as he's got his headphones in and he's listening to a Tony Robbins, or he's listening to a podcast that he loves, and he's filling up his mind so that he can learn. He's always like, well, I want to learn this. I want to go through this experience in my life. So he's filling up himself so he can move through that experience and that example. So like Shauna said, I didn't see the vision to leadership retreat. I never thought I was worthy. And so she said, bingo, when you were talking, she said, I was nowhere near ready. So when Shauna decided to step up and do the work on herself, then boom, there it is. So don't give up before you do the work, because during doing the work, then you're not going to give up. So you've got to allow yourself this personal time you have to allow yourself the time to do the personal work. And that is for whatever way that is for you. If that's your diving deep in your Bible, dive deep in your Bible. If that is your plugging into a podcast, plug into a podcast. But I don't let my personal development time slip. That is so crucial for me. So whereas most people are working out of the gym and listening to some pump up feel good music, I'm listening to a podcast because I'm literally filling my mind with something that I can learn from, that's going to help me through my business, through my marriage, through my motherhood, all that stuff. So just remember, it's all a circle. It's all united. So it's probably not your business. It's probably something else you need to work on in your life. There's a connected weave that this is all. Like, I know that if I'm being snappy to Scott, it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with like something else going on in my life. If I'm snappy with my kids, it has obviously nothing to do with them. They don't even know logic. They're like perfect little humans, right? So I know it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with something else going on, whether it's my business or whatever. And Scott taught me this one time. I came into the room. This is when we were living in our loft. And he goes, what were you just thinking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, because the energy that you brought to this room and this space is so negative. So whatever you were thinking about back there is what you brought here. So I want you to go back and I want you to fix it. And then when you come back, you'll be fine, because it has nothing to do with me. And I literally prayed for a man like this, like could put me in my place, because I need a man that could put me in my place. And he does that so beautifully. And it did work. And so I think about that. What's going on that you need to work on? That's just it. It's probably not at all the business, because actually everything's really perfect. We have all the tools, we have the products, we have the comp plan, we have the culture, we have all the things. So what do you need to work on outside of your life? Which ball have you dropped in your life? Is it your workout? Is it your health? Is it your fitness? Is it your relationship? Is it your role as a mom? What do you need to pick up? What do you need to work on a little bit? And then guess what? Your business is fine, because it has nothing to do. Everything's fine here. It's kind of laughable. Don't give up the business without working on the space that you need to work on, because it's all relative. Does that make sense? I'm seeing a lot of head nods. Ashley's like, that was literally me today. I love it. So good.
I think the biggest thing I've taken from this is just perspective on things. And the biggest thing I ever took from Rachel Hollis was stop looking at it like it's happening to you and look at it like it's happening for you. Like, there's going to be crap, like straight up crap that happens to you. Like, I mean, think about your life. How many times has something happened in your life and you just want to throw up your hands and like get in bed, but someday you got to get out of bed. Like, someday you got to like get up and like be a normal human. Same thing with this business. So many of you have this expectation that it's just going to be like literally just like a train up to the top of the mountain. Like, hello, no, trains break down. They lose a wheel, whatever those things are. You know, things happen on the way. And that's why I'm here. That's why Kay is here. Like, she went through a divorce, you guys, and look what she got out of it. You know, she's with the guy she prayed for. And so there's going to be so many things that happen in your life and in your business that you just got to get up and stop complaining, stop throwing a pity party. And you have it for 2 seconds, and then you just got to keep going, because there's so much on the other side. Like, she just bought the perfect land. That's not what she wanted. She was going to remodel her house. I remember her posting about it, trying to figure out what room, like, what do I do with this? And now she just bought land. Like, you don't know what your life is going to look like this month, tomorrow, next week, a year from now. Like, if you would have asked me a year from now, when I wasn't maintaining Diamond, if this was where I was going to be, I would have laughed in your face. So stop trying to plan for it and stop trying to say, well, that won't happen or this won't happen. It does happen. You just have to be ready for it. And like she said, get moving.
Wow. Was that literally a year ago?
Yeah, I maintained for the first time in February. So not a little over a year ago.
Oh, wow. You guys, that's powerful right there.
Yeah. So that's why so many times I see people that are like, well, I'm not maintaining. I'm like, and I wasn't either, but I could have decided to say, oh, well, you know, maybe I was a one-hit wonder. I'm going to like go ahead and peace out. That wasn't an option. And from day one, it hasn't been. And that's why I'm here interviewing Kay, the daughter of the queen, telling you the same thing. Like, I know that half of y'all were like nodding your heads, and I've told you half this stuff before, but sometimes you got to hear it again. And I think it's so special. Like, you're just so refreshing. And I knew that you would be such a good person to have on our Zoom right now, because, you know, so many people, you know, came to me today and they're like, what am I doing wrong? And when you said that and you were like, you automatically start saying, well, what am I doing wrong? Well, what, you got to do something else right. Like, you just got to keep doing what you were doing right and stop focusing on the bad.
Find like, even if it's just like 2 or 3 things that you're doing right or you've done right to get where you are anyway, and just do more of that. Because like, nothing's going to come from you focusing on anything that you're quote unquote doing wrong. Like, nothing's going to come from that. Just find a couple of things that make you feel good. Like, what makes you feel, what do you love about this business? What gets things moving for you? Pick just a couple of things, make a little checklist, do that every day, you know, until you've got like a little bit more momentum to add more to the list. But you've got to make a decision that you're just going to focus on what feels good and what works. That's where everything's going to start shifting for you. So yeah, girl, I love this. Quitting is not an option.
Yes.
I love it.
But we thank you so much for taking time out of your night to do this for us. It was so great. You know, sometimes you need a little bit of red, sometimes you need a little bit of like someone yelling at you, and sometimes you need people like you that are just refreshing and just simple and bring so much perspective. So thank you. I'm excited for everything that's happening for you and your new house. And I know that we're all super grateful to have you on here. So everybody have a great rest of your night, and I'll have this up on YouTube soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.